Hello and welcome. Please let me know if you're with me right now, that you can hear me. There have been issues. Let's blame it on Mercury retrograde. If you tuned into the last one, the original transmission had no sound. And I tried to replace even the mic, and it would not let me. So we're just waiting out Mercury retrograde, which goes direct on Friday, right after the new moon in Virgo. This like sequential alignment feels influential in many ways, and I'll speak on that here shortly. But just as we are diving into this space, calling forth the Holy Father, the Holy Mother, the living light, calling forth my highest guidance, my oversoul, the oversoul of humanity, and asking for messages of clarity, healing, wisdom, and truth to descend, and using these cards and myself as a transmitter for those messages for each individual, for their highest good, relevant to the energy around this new moon in Virgo. And with great thanks, I'm returning all glory to the Most High, forever and ever. So it is. Okay, so here we are. It's Wednesday as I'm making this recording, and our new moon happens tomorrow night on Thursday. This new moon in Virgo, and Virgo being a sign that's very grounded, very practical, it's an earth element. So tends to be around the body, around home, around even like organization, kind of cleaning things out. Typically on our full moon is like when we get rid of stuff, but there's something with this new moon that is relevant to kind of sweeping up the stuff that has been underneath the rug. This may be following any intentions that you placed around the full moon. This is also the new moon that occurs before an eclipse. The next new moon that will follow will be the annular eclipse, which is not a full eclipse, but we'll still feel the impact of that, and probably already beginning to feel some of it, as well as the autumn equinox, which happens next week, when we are at a point where it is equal day and night, among many other things. So there has been I've had some quite intense personal experiences, so I'm not going to talk too much about the energy that I have perceived, because I don't want to let any of my personal experience influence what is coming through. But I'm curious to hear from you. Like, have you had events, occurrences, maybe particularly Monday or over the weekend, or leading up to today, that have kind of just been in your face and sharp maybe a little bit? I would love to hear. Tell me how are things going for you, and are there any presenting themes that you're starting to pick up on as we're moving towards the autumn, the fall? So I'm going to go ahead and pull our initial card for the reading. And the first card that we have from the Work Your Light Oracle is the Mintaken. It says, longing for home, belonging, in the original light workers. Let's hear a little bit more about this card. Very curious in my own field of awareness. There's definitely been like this yearning for a deeper rest, a rest that comes when you are at home, when you're truly at home, whether that's like the physical place that you call home, or it's that inner relationship, that place of knowing that you're perfectly safe and protected and well cared for. And of course, like this manifests in the outer world once we have found it on the inner planes. And bear with me. This book is not in order, so it's a little bit more challenging to find some of these. So the Mintonkans are a soul group who originated on a planet in the constellation of Orion. They were the first star beings to travel to Earth and believed to be the original light workers. The Mintonkans' home planet is thought to have been a water world with water so pure that you could see through it for miles. For this reason, Mintonkans feel most at peace and at home when in or around crystal clear water. They are here to reach us to see the potential in everything and the light in all beings. Many Mintonkans have an odd longing for home and struggle with feeling like they don't belong. It is thought that this is due to their home planet no longer being in existence. If you have pulled this card, it could mean that you are a Mintonkan, or you are longing for a sense of belonging, and root chakra healing is necessary for you to feel secure and safe. So let's continue. The next cards I have here are Indigo Child and Third Eye Chakra. This meaning, the Indigo children came in really kind of like mid-70s, 80s, and I think some people say they actually came in like in the 60s. But they are highly sensitive individuals. They're also natural born leaders, and many of them are light workers, of course. I would consider myself an Indigo Child. And the third eye chakra follows immediately after that. Oh, along with the base chakra. How about that? After in the first card, it's talking about base chakra healing. And here I am, I'm drinking like this, I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to pour it. This beetroot latte, which is so good, but it's an incredible help for your root chakra, for your blood, for all of those things, the organs and the energies that are red and connected with the earth, connected with the root, connected with the heart. I want to keep pulling a few cards. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. Got a little bit of heaviness going on here in this deck, or rather in this reading. And if you haven't watched my readings before, I always say, look, I've pre-shuffled my decks. I don't always necessarily do this in front of, in the recording. It takes time. So just so you know, if that's like a thing that you're very picky about, that's something that I do prior to. All right. So I've just went ahead and like been guided to pull this full spread. So those that have come here to do light work, there is so much structural change that is happening in our life. There is a lot of death. That may have been a general theme that has been either reoccurring or starting to occur, and that may mean like actual physical deaths. It could mean deaths of identities, deaths of roles, deaths of working life, career, relationships. But the death card I pulled, and it's right here in the center, underneath the third eye. There's so much change that's happening to support and facilitate our work here on Earth as light workers, as healers, as indigo children, however that is that you identify. Likely, if you're watching this, you're going to be somewhere in this category. And our base chakra it's our home center. Very interesting. It talks about this home feeling, and like feeling a sense of wanting to belong, a sense of longing for home. And when our base chakra is disturbed, it's generally from the foundational pieces in our life being fractured or being moved. Like when we actually go through a physical move, there's a lot of reorientation that has to happen in the base chakra, in that energetic center that is the consciousness of our home. It is how we, or rather, a healthy base chakra holds the consciousness of belonging to the earth. It's like we came into the world and we felt safe. And for most of us, we probably incarnated into very difficult situations where we did not feel safe, where we were triggered, where we had a lot of fear, and we probably felt like the oddball out. I like to call it the psychedelic sheep. I will not accept the black sheep of the family identity. But there was always, at least for me, like this sense of not quite ever fitting in, and like there was no box that really fit me. And it left me with that sense of longing and wanting to find my tribe. And even like there's a fair amount of dissociation that can come with that level of disconnect, of the feeling like I don't belong here on earth. It's not safe for me to be in a body. Body equals pain. Earth equals suffering. Indigos are empathic, and we can internalize and feel in many ways. Sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, sometimes in all of these other ways of clear cognizance or clear sentience. And it's required us to do a whole lot of healing and restoring the trust and the deliberate incarnation that we have chosen, and that we have chosen to be here. And actually being here is a great privilege, to be here on earth and to be here at this time. And this card is saying, choose only positive thoughts to describe your home, career, and finances, as your words determine your outcome. And to just like see if you can become hypersensitive to the ways that you undermine your own sense of home, your own sense of pleasure. Oddly enough, that's what's coming through, like the pleasure of being in the company of those that make you feel like you're at home, the pleasure of being in environments that make you feel like you're home, which there can be a space in that feeling of home that allows you to also initiate the more childlike ways of seeing the world, of being in the world, of playing, and kind of like just being at ease and not really worrying about what the next thing is. When a child feels safe, they can be very creative and enjoy and take pleasure in life. And this third eye chakra card says it's safe for you to see the energy of love in all of its forms, such as angels, auras, and visions. So maybe there are some wounds that are getting triggered, like really deep wounds related to the base chakra, related to fear, related to self-preservation. And maybe one of the ways that you've learned to cope with that is anger, frustration, rage. These are just other faces of fear. And perhaps there are places that have been highlighted around this lately. And the invitation is to drop into your heart, to call on the angels, to call on your higher self, or whatever that those divine representatives are to you, and to really allow yourself to hone in on your intuition, to understand the difference between these two worlds. Like, that we have to be really grounded for our intuition to be healthy. When we're not well grounded, the energies do not pass through us and regulate, because we actually have to bring all of the information through, including the information that comes through intuition. It has to come all the way through the body, and we have to be grounded in the earth to discharge any of the like frazzled misfires that occur from trauma, and be able to then kind of separate that from what is just pure intelligence, pure intuition. And when we're in touch with nature, when we're in touch with our root, when we're deeply grounded and connected to our body here on the earth, and accepting of that, accepting that we are here, we have a purpose, we do belong, the intuition naturally rises, and it becomes it almost becomes like the nose of a ship. It becomes the way that your life starts to be guided. And so, are you at a point where there's like friction between the two? And can you go through that really uncomfortable process of identifying the fear, of like working on creating a relationship with your body, to remind your body and your inner child that what you're experiencing, to evaluate the places of unconsciousness, reflect the shadows. The other cards that came forward here are turquoise, the lower world, death, magic. And the lower world, this is about our roots, this is about our ancestors. You know, what are we still choosing to carry around with us that no longer is serving the road forward? And the turquoise, this is such like a prized stone of the Native Americans and even Mesoamericans. The blue hue was associated with the heavens, the rain, and fertility, and the stone was a part of ritual offerings to the spring, especially when that water was brought to villages and urban areas through aqueducts or channels. This stone is also associated with time, wisdom, and sacred discourse. Turquoise was representative of political power. When you draw turquoise, you are asked to keep in mind that wisdom is a gift from the heavens. Listen and honor the wisdom that comes to you, and it will lead you to the source of personal power. This also reminds you to pay attention to your words, for they create your reality. Again, there's this prompt to be really conscious of, are we speaking words of life, or are we speaking words of death? Are we affirming the life that we choose to live, or are we affirming the life that we don't want to be living? Are we affirming that we don't belong? Your words hold tremendous power. Your body is always listening to everything that you say, and it will respond accordingly. And the universe, God, is always listening to what you say and how you say it, the vibration in which you carry the intention, the thought. So be mindful. Have you undermined your own sovereignty and given away your power by allowing your doubt to contaminate your language. The other thing with that card that ties in here, Mercury retrograde just went blank there. Let me return to it. Y'all give me a thumbs up if you ever just have those brain farts. It's talking about wisdom, about the messages from the heavens. And so we have to have, if we have a distorted system, if we're still operating based off of the old fears and beliefs, that's what we will see. That's what we will interpret through our intuition. And so this is this like doubling down on your discernment, on really knowing how to separate the quality of truth from the quality of deception. And that's really the only way that you can ever truly know. Because I'm trying to think of what the saying is. It's like, believe nothing that you hear and only half of what you see. That there are always two sides to every story. So sometimes the only way to determine what is in alignment for you, what is true, what is of God, is to be in touch enough with your body and your senses in your body to know what that feels like. And to also know what it feels like to be triggered and to have your wounds being exposed. And having the opportunity to heal those and allow your intuition to see more clearly through that. The Magic card, well, let's read this first card, the Lower World card. It's the hidden treasures of humanity. It is the place of the rich and fruitful darkness, where we can find the disowned parts of ourself and the abandoned aspects of our psyche. So much of what is, coming up right now is all of the denied places, the shadows. And there's, at a larger scale, this is the collective unconscious getting stirred up. And I'm curious, like, if you were to relate outside of yourself, what collective unconscious can you see in the world? And maybe that will hold a key for you in finding in yourself where you may be in delusion or denial. It is time to unearth your hidden treasures. Do not make yourself small in order for others to like or accept you. Bring out the gems and precious stones that you have kept inside your heart, hidden even from yourself. It's time to honor your past and recast your life as a heroic quest. As you journey into the lower world, you will be offered all the gifts of your ancestors, their struggles, the way they hurt, the way they lived, and the way they died. They will all become blessings. Are you one of those people who do not like to face the past? Now your past is calling to be acknowledged, to be heard, and to be embraced. The only way to become unstuck is to honor everything that has transpired in your life, reflect on the lessons learned, and move on. If you bear witness to your past and learn its lessons, it will stop haunting you. As you embrace its gift, you will recover a missing part of your soul. And then the Magic card represents the infinite intelligence of Great Spirit that makes the fundamental fabric of the universe. The one that allows us to experience the evidence of magic through synchronicity or meaningful coincidence. When magic appears, you're invited to see the world through the eyes of wonder and awe, taking on the innocence of a child who knows that all things are possible. Have you forgotten that you live in a world that is infused with magic? Perhaps you have become cynical and think that you have to create your life all by yourself with no help from others. It's time to remember your relationship to God, to Source. For you are a part of the story of the world, a living spark of spirit living on earth for this short time as an emissary of light. If you look back over your life, you will find many instances in which your actions alone were not the cause of out-of-the-blue coincidences that led you to that new relationship, job, or other important moment on your journey. So how do you stay in this awareness? The answer is simple. If you can be as a little child and cultivate that wondrous curiosity, you will see the magic again and be amazed. And then lastly, Spirit Warrior. Alakoa. Though you yearn for peace, you recognize that without truth, genuine peace can never be. Even if it triggers an upheaval of transformation, the need to set things right is strong in you. This is the inner drive of the spiritual warrior, the compelling soul need to uphold truth, goodness, and justice. You will fight for these things because that is your way, Spirit Warrior. Trust, see, and feel the positive impact that you are making in the world. You are relentless, and the divine is within you. And this references again like this feeling of being alone, feeling like you got to do it by yourself, but to really let yourself allow others to lift you up and to be held in community. I'm just scanning for anything else that clean and clear these traumas and memories around the pain and suffering of being a human, of what it's been like to feel a little bit on the outside maybe, but using these to clean and clarify your inner vision so that you're able to interpret the feelings that you receive correctly. So that one of the places where people get off in their intuition is that the intuition first comes in through the emotional field. The emotions is where we initially receive that information. And then the head, the eye, the third eye, has to process it. If there is trauma in the body that feels somewhat resonant with the emotion, it may pull up a memory from the back brain and say, hey, this had a close vibration. And because the back brain wants to self-preserve and prevent from something like that ever happening, it just pushes it forward, kind of like as an alert. And it may be outmoded, it may be outdated, and it may not be relevant for that moment in time. And that's where there has to be discernment of going, okay, I recognize I've had this experience, and I also recognize that this is not what's happening right now. It's not as rational as a process as that, but with a working sense of awareness around it, you start to understand and feel what it feels like when it's aligned, when your emotional input and then the interpretation from the third eye is accurate. There's a resonance that happens between the two. And when it's false, when it's incongruent with what is true, there'll be kind of like a distorted feeling, like a dissonance almost. And then there can be like hypervigilance and like hyperactivity, when rather there should be a sense of peace, neutrality. Not to say that when you're healing the wound, that it won't be intense and cause you to kind of feel a little off, vulnerable and confused. But that is the process of rewriting the system. And if you've ever experienced any kind of PTSD, then you know that that part of your brain doesn't operate on like linear space and time. You will have the feeling of it being recreated, even though that's not what's actually happening. So tuning to what is scarring that gets triggered versus intuition. It's a very, it requires a lot of practice, and it seems that the opportunity right now is to go through your base chakra, go to the places that you fear, lean into your fear, and call on your angels, call on, you know, your loving wisdom, and know that it's safe for you to see things differently, for you to see things in a more authentic and pure light. And that if you choose to drop into these shadowy places, into the underworld, in the unconscious, that you are choosing to ultimately allow that part of you to die, to transition, to be reborn, so that you can fully step in to this work, this mission work of being a light worker. And light workers, it's necessary as we're moving into these times of great inversion, great inversions of truth, of not really knowing what is up or down, that we have to stabilize and secure this skill in ourselves, that it is dire to our well-being and to the fulfillment of bringing this heaven on earth. I hope that you found this reading helpful. It's a little bit heavier than what I like to bring through, but feels like there are rites of passages that are available to those that are ready to fully step into their power. So with that, thank you for being here. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, send to anyone who this might assist, that you think it might help. And thank you for joining me always. I'm very hopeful that the sound actually came through on this one. And I'll look forward to seeing you all again in a couple weeks for the full moon. Until we meet then, wishing you all a pure and simple life. Pura vida.